Ridge Racer 6 is the latest game in the Ridge Racer series, and it's the first to kind of debut on a non-Sony console. I mean, the game's appeared on Nintendo systems before, but it hasn't been like a numbered game in the series. It's always Ridge Racer 64 or just Ridge Racer DS. This is Ridge Racer 6, so it's the next sequel in the series, and it's debuting on the Xbox 360. The game maintains a lot of what you know and probably like about the Ridge Racer series. It's that fast-moving style of racing that you saw in arcades and have since translated their way home. And it's that same style of really crazy drifting around corners and fast-moving action. The drifting in the game is basically the same as you saw in Ridge Racer for the PSP or the previous Ridge Racer games. And basically how this works is if you're hitting the brakes, chances are you're doing something wrong. You kind of go up to each corner, let off the gas, and slide out around it. Slide around, pump on the gas again to kind of regain control of the car, and basically whip around even the most hairpin of hairpin turns without losing too much speed or without hitting any walls, ideally. Basically, the game actually kind of works like it's your car's on a stick or a slot car or something like that. The minute you lose traction, it'll just automatically whip you around a hairpin curve or S-curve or any kind of curve there is. It's just kind of up to you to make sure the car is staying pointed the right way. For some people, they might find that kind of disjointed, like you're kind of playing on autopilot, but half the thrill is making sure that you're drifting just right and trying to lose as little speed as possible while you're drifting, because at the same time you're drifting, you're actually earning a nitrous boost. Nitrous was one of the things they introduced in the PSP version of the game, and it returns here, and they've expanded it a little bit because now you can unleash double and triple nitruses to kind of use your whole bar in one charge. The thing that really stands out about Ridge Racer 6 is its sense of speed. Graphically, the game's not the greatest looking game on the Xbox 360. You start to look at the road textures, they don't really look all that great. They look good. The car models, not the sharpest car models compared to, Need for Speed or Project Gotham. But what the thing does get down is it just moves really, really fast. You get into the later classes of cars and each one kind of goes faster and faster and faster, yet the game maintains a really smooth frame rate the whole time. And that really helps to kind of deliver that sense of speed. The game also makes pretty good use of blur effects, especially when you engage a nitrous, and that helps to kind of make you feel like you're just like flying, on the verge of losing control. The weird thing about Ridge Racer is that it's strangely addictive. There are like 200 and something races in the entire game. You start out in the World Explorer mode looking at this big chart of all these different races that are 111 to start. And you kind of work your way through the path and win each race to kind of unlock new pathways to get to more races. And you fill in this grid and you're unlocking cars the whole time. Then you finally get to race 111. You beat that and it's like, oh, well, that's great. Here's the expert course and here's the special course. And then the whole thing just kind of branches out again, all over again, with even more difficult races. So it really just kind of blows up into this huge game, and it becomes very addictive to want to unlock every single car and see every single race. The only problem is there really aren't enough track designs to warrant that number of races. So they're putting you through every track forwards and backwards in just about every class of car. And there are also a few different race types, like races where you can't use nitrous at all, or races where the nitrous charges only when you're using nitrous. So there's some different strategic elements that come into play with those race types. But for the most part, you're just racing and drifting and trying to place first every single time. The presentation in Ridge Racer 6 is really slick. The menu where you select races has a really highly stylized design to it, and the car designs are also really cool. You see a lot of Namco characters returning in various forms on the sides of the cars, like there's, Pac-Man cars. Basically, all the cars are kind of like race cars, but instead of having sponsorships for Valvoline or whatever various car brands that are out there, instead you have Astaroth or Mitsurugi or Pac-Man, Galaxian. So you see a lot of these, classic and more recent Namco names kind of returning on the cars, and that's a really cool touch. You also see some of that stuff on the side of the track. You see the word Klonoa around curves, and it actually looks, if you're not looking, it looks like it says Nokia, but it's like, what, Nokia? Oh, Klonoa, okay, that makes more sense. Ridge Racer 6 has a lot of replay value to it. Of course, the World Explorer mode isn't something you're going to finish right away. It's really big. But then on top of that, it has online play for up to 14 players. That's a lot. The game recommends you stick around 8, but you can jack that maximum up to 14 if you want. And you can play in ranked matches or just straight-up player matches if you just want to race against your friends or something like that. On top of the online play, there's also a time attack mode that has online scoreboards. So what you can do here is you can choose a class of car, any one of the tracks and then basically attack it in a time attack fashion, and your score and your ghost actually gets posted online. So then you can download other people's ghost races and see how they attacked the track, or race against their ghost to see where you're falling behind, where you're catching up. It's a really cool feature that I think really adds a lot to the standard time attack mode. Ridge Racer 6 ultimately is a game for fans of Ridge Racer that are looking for more of the same. It's kind of archaic in a way because the gameplay hasn't really changed. You're still just kind of doing that exact same drift maneuver to get around corners, and the game does kind of pilot itself in some sense. But it also moves so quickly, and it actually does look pretty cool. In that case, it's definitely a unique racing experience on the Xbox 360. I think that people that aren't necessarily into the more simulation style aspect of Project Gotham, or aren't really into the whole tuner scene of Need for Speed, might find what they're looking for in Ridge Racer 6.